of their schemes. The addition of Darren Robinson to this list reflects the seriousness of the charges against him, as well as our continued commitment to locate him and bring him to justice. According to the federal indictment issued on January 11, 2024, Robinson was the founder and principal operator of an investment firm called QYU Holdings, which the investigation indicates was a large-scale Ponzi scheme deceiving hundreds of victims to invest in his supposed foreign currency trading. He is accused of soliciting money from investors through false statements and fraudulent promises of guaranteed returns. Instead of investing the funds as he represented, Robinson allegedly used the investor funds to pay earlier investors, cover his business expenses, and to support his lavish international lifestyle. This alleged scheme resulted in the approximate loss of $100 million and impacted hundreds of victims both in the United States and across the world. But I want to take a moment to pause here, because behind those numbers, those very, very large numbers, are real people. Retirees, moms and dads trying to pay for college, business owners, individuals who entrusted their life savings to this man thinking it was a legitimate investment opportunity, and they suffered significant financial harm. And I want those victims to know today that the FBI remains committed to pursuing justice on their behalf. We will bring Darren Robinson to justice, and by adding Robinson to the Most Wanted Fraudster List, we're asking the public here in Michigan, across the country, and across the world to take another look at these photographs and his identifying information and to help us find him. Robinson has remained a fugitive since November 2023, when he cut his GPS tether and fled the country. Prior to his arrest in 2023, we know that Robinson traveled extensively throughout the United States and across the world. Domestically, he spent time in South Florida, suburban Atlanta, and Southern California. Internationally, his travel took him across North America, Central and South America, Europe, and Asia. He also spent extended periods living in Panama and the UAE. Someone knows where he is. Someone may have seen him. Someone may have engaged with him, not even realize that he's wanted by the FBI. And so we are asking anyone with information about the whereabouts of Darren Robinson to contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or to submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. If you believe you've seen Robinson, don't try and apprehend him yourself. Please contact law enforcement and help trained personnel encounter and address him. Additionally, if you believe you're a victim of his investment scheme, we have set up a portal specifically for victims of QYU's holding scam. And that website, which we will post on our social media and have in our press release following this press conference, is www.fbi.gov/QYU, in all caps, _lowercase holdings _lowercase victims. And you can also contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Finally, I'd like to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Michigan and our federal law enforcement partners, specifically the IRS CI, and who's the acting special agent in charge here today, Robert Kaczynski from the Detroit Field Office, as well as our partners at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission for their continued work and collaboration on this investigation. The FBI remains committed to protecting the public from investment fraud, supporting the victims of fraud, and ensuring that the individuals charged with these crimes cannot evade justice by just fleeing the country. Our message today is simple. Darren Robinson, if you're watching this press conference, turn yourself in. If anyone knows where Darren Robinson is, we want to hear from you. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Acting Special Agent in Charge, Robert Kaczynski.
Thank you, Special Agent in Charge Runyon. Good morning, I'm Robert Kaczynski, Acting Special Agent in Charge with IRS Criminal Investigations, Detroit Field Office. I'd like to reiterate SAC Runyon's appreciation to U.S. Attorney Jerome Gargan and his office's exceptional staff for their cooperative work on this case. Also, I'd like to thank our partners at the FBI including SAC Runyon and the entire Detroit field office, for the work on the task force tackling this investigation, along with IRSCI. As you've already heard, Darren Anthony Robinson has been added to the FBI's Most Wanted Fraudsters List, along with a reward of up to $150,000 for information leading to his arrest and conviction. As part of the task force investigating Mr. Robinson, IRSCI is the only federal law enforcement agency with investigative jurisdiction over violations of the Internal Revenue Code, and money laundering is essentially tax fraud in progress. We follow the money to the root of the criminal enterprise, always leading us to the core of the rotten schemes like this. As part of the investigative team tracking down a fugitive on FBI's newly established Most Wanted Fraudsters List, IRSCI brings specialized skills and talents to the table focused on unraveling the most complicated financial transactions and schemes. Financial fraud of this magnitude has ruined countless lives and more than warrants Mr. Robinson's inclusion on this list. Not only did he allegedly commit these egregious crimes of greed, but he failed to be accountable for any of his actions by becoming a fugitive on the run. The alleged crimes jeopardized the livelihoods of too many victims. As SAC Runyon said, his prolonged travels both internationally and domestically make Robinson's addition to the Most Wanted list and this announcement necessary to broaden awareness and assist in bringing him to face justice with the consequences of his extreme corruption and greed. IRSCI is dedicated to investigating cases like these and holding those accountable for their fraud, deception, along with the partners at FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. SAC Runyon, the floor is yours.
Okay, we can take a few questions.
Do you guys believe or know if there are any victims in Michigan that invested with Mr. Robinson, and if so, how many, whereabouts are they from, et cetera?
I'm not going to go into details about the victims, but we do have dozens of victims in Michigan, which has given us the jurisdiction to work this case and make sure that we get justice on their behalf.
I was going to ask why the charges came from the Eastern District and whether he has any connection to Detroit. You mentioned the victims here allowed the filing here, but is there any Detroit connection with him in particular?
There's no additional connections that we found at this time, but the victims that he has here is what we are working to give them the justice by getting him arrested.
So no particular reason why the filing, it could be anywhere nationally potentially? Or
Our initial tip leading on to his Ponzi scheme came into our field office.
Okay.
So that's how we got the first initial indications that there was a large-scale scheme going on.
Can you elaborate the time frame of that, or appreciating you've got a case and an investigation here, but what can you share in regard to that tip or how it came on your radar?
Sure, I can't go into the details of that, but in the unsealed complaint and indictment, it came back in 2022. And from that point on, we started actively working this investigation. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that his addition is not only significant, but this is coming off of the creation of this. Can you talk a little bit about what led to him being to the point where he needed to be added to this, and how successful has this list been since it's been created?
Yeah, it's been actually very successful. This administration has made fraud a significant priority, which we're grateful for, because fraud is destroying the lives of millions of Americans. And so having this list that started in June, we've actually, the FBI has arrested 4 people off of that list. And we continue adding. And every time we add someone, they eventually get caught. And so we believe that raising the awareness does help people want to come forward, because many people have, hundreds of people have been victimized by this scheme. Yes, sir.
Is there an opportunity for the victims to actually, like, once he's caught, to be able to get some of their money back?
That's one. Yeah, we definitely work to do that through the forfeiture proceedings and the money judgments that has been written into our indictment. Our whole goal is to bring restitution for these victims.
Where was Mr. Robinson when he cut that tether and fled? Where was he initially arrested, and where was he, his last known whereabouts?
It's a good question. So I'm not going to go into where he was. He was on court-authorized travel, court-approved, excuse me. He was out on bond and approved travel, and from there he cut his tether and fled. And we continue to receive many tips that we pursue about his current whereabouts, and we run each of those to ground. So we ask anyone from across the world, if you have any information, to please submit it to us at tips.fbi.gov.
It says Brooklyn is a place of birth. Do you have a city where he was last known to be a resident of, or granted he's on the run, but I mean, I don't know if he had a place of residence you know of that you can share.
He did live extensively, like I said, in Panama and the UAE. This man is a con artist, and he has moved extensively, and that's what we saw. He just kept moving and traveling the world as a way to cover up his scheme. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned, I was actually going to touch on that, the connections to Panama, the UAE, and Colombia. Are you working with Interpol? How are the jurisdictions outside of the U.S. assisting, if in any way?
They are. Through our law enforcement attaché offices, we have robust relationships with all the countries that we have FBI employees in. And in this investigation specifically, we've had very great support from our international partners. And so we continue to pursue all of those leads as well as our federal partners here in the United States.
When you talk about the reward, I know that that's something that's something that is a draw for people, but there's always concern about safety or things like that. For the average person that may be watching this, when you offer a reward for this type of crime, how can someone report it, and what do you do to protect those people?
Yes, so tipsters can ask to remain anonymous. Obviously, if someone has the information that leads to his arrest and conviction, we do need a way to contact them back. So we ask that they would give us their initial, at least name and phone number, but they can ask me to remain anonymous, and we take the protection of people's information very seriously. I'll take one more. Yes, sir.
Is there any context you can give in regard to his Ponzi scheme of investment fraud, meaning what circles he ran in, how he lured people when we talk investment fraud internationally, a certain set of companies? I mean, what was he alleged to have been offering access to as part of investments, and how did he get into whatever circle he was in to con people?
Yeah, it's a good question. And if you haven't seen the unsealed indictment and complaint from 2023, the indictment from January 2024, we released a good amount of information there. But the scheme is what we see in many Ponzi schemes, where in this one specifically, it was invest your money to be a part of our foreign exchange trading. And if you invest in us, we're going to give you returns. We've never had any losses. And it was all through giving people a false sense of confidence and then betraying that through false documents you created, statements, marketing materials. What we see in many of these schemes is they perpetuate the fraud until the house of cards falls apart, and it did.
But were these cold, like on the internet propositions, or did he know people that he conned, if you know what the inference I'm looking for?
I don't know that, but we're happy to get back to you with that information. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Federal Consumer Price Index shows inflation was 3.4% in July compared to last year, with prices up just 0.1% over the previous month. That's in line with what economists had predicted when it comes to grocery prices. Overall, they're up 2.7% from last year. The latest report did not account for recent spikes in gas prices, which have ticked back up to $4 plus per gallon on average.